Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for Thursday, the 17th of January, 2019. Well, it is a Jupiter day, so if you're going to practice magic today, we're in a waxing cycle of the moon, so magics of increase are performed during this time. So if you're maybe maybe if you're looking for a new job, or if you need to have some healing, anything that you need, to have happen, you can make use of Jupiter's energies to do that. Jupiter's energies are very expansive. Everything gets bigger, everything gets magnified with Jupiter. So if you need something to increase something, even using, it's said that magic squares set things in motion and seals stops. So you could use the square of Jupiter to, magnify something if you needed to in a ritual. So anyhow, different things you can do today if you're magically inclined and want to do a ritual or a magical working. Thursday is always a wonderful day for that. You're almost assured of success, I swear. Jupiter has that strong of an influence. Well, let's see. This is an 8-day, being 17. That adds to 7 and 1 is 8. So that's what we call reducing. Reduces to 8. And so that's a number of leadership and of harmony and of I look at it, and you can't do this in every sense, in every case, but I look at the odd numbers as numbers of friction, or they're catalytic in nature, in a sense. And then I view the even ones as more numbers of spirit and of cohesion and of balance and of harmony and of moving more into our own source presence. So in a sense, a duality could be expressed numerologically between the even and odd numbers. So you could view the odd ones as those of form, and even as those of spirit. But like I said, you can always find reasons why that's not so. But I just see kind of sometimes a tendency there. So when you see 8, you're getting close to 9, which is completion, and then 10 is beginnings, and so you're getting to a point where you're really beginning to understand the greater aspect of things. Whether it's the greater aspect of self in others, in a unified, in terms of unified consciousness, or whether you're just understanding, given the leadership aspect of it, you're understanding there's more than just you, that there's other things to consider. And so today's a good day for that, to be aware that there are other people out there. Again, the shutdown continues. Hopefully it will end today. It doesn't feel like it, but you never know. The guy in the Oval Office is so impulsive that he could, at a moment's notice, just say, "That's it, we're done. It's over." So you just don't know. But at this moment, from what my husband just told me, it's still going on. So, wow. And now they're saying it isn't safe to fly. So again, we need some leadership. We need some people who will come to this man and say, "Look, dude, enough's enough here. Whatever you're trying to achieve, you aren't going to achieve it this way. So you're going to have to try another tactic, because you're hurting people. Don't blame other people for the choice that you made. You, nobody else. Don't then say, 'Oh, well, because I don't get what I want and they're not doing it, it's now they own the shutdown.'" No, honey. Life don't work that way. It doesn't. I realize maybe he didn't have parents who really, guided him well. I don't know. I have no idea. You read things that he was sent away. What that does to a child, is difficult. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't have a choice. Maybe he was so out of control they had to. I have no idea. But something went haywire there, because he lacks all empathy. And that's not what an 8 is all about. An 8 shows empathy. An eight will show that, that type of leadership where they can show benevolence and compassion to other people. And that's not what's happening right now. So anyhow, we will, if you're casting some intention today, you're doing some workings, you might focus them on that. Again, bringing clarity, bringing reason, bringing truth to power, and getting this whole situation stopped. Because, it isn't just the people that aren't working or who are working without pay. It's everybody they do business with that's being affected by this. So, the epidemic that this has caused of fear, it's so palpable now. You can feel it when you go out in the world. You feel it at the grocery store. You feel it everywhere. Everyone is just uncomfortable. Even if it's not touching them personally, they know someone that it is. So everything is unsettled now. And that isn't how we need to be. So on this 8th day, if you wanted to practice some magic, you could do something along those lines. So anyhow, let's count 13 and see what the cards have to say. Well, we'll pull another one. We have the Knight of Wands. But we do need someone, don't we? Someone like this who's passionate and full of vitality. He's ready to go. Now, he's not in battle because you don't see the face of the helmet down over his face. You don't see that part of it over his face. So he's not in battle. But maybe he's getting ready to go do battle as the steed rears up, You see the oranges there? It's the fire element. Wands is the fire element. So maybe you're getting ready to do battle today. And on this day, that's an 8th day, you might try to employ leadership skills while you do that, so you don't get out of control. Sometimes knights can be very responsible and very passionate, and they're there to protect people and all of that. But sometimes they can be arrogant and lack of impulse control, and you hope that resolves when they become the king. But if you've ever heard me talk about kings here before, I don't think that, but you have a better chance of it resolving with the queen, I think, than the king there. But in any event, let's pull another card and see what he's up to. Well, the Ace of Swords, the genesis of new ideas, new thought. Clearly, needs to change his mind about something, maybe. Think about things differently. The hand from nowhere comes out of the clouds, and we see the crown, which could indicate, that the king needs to make a different choice. And since, the guy in the oval seems to think he's a king or a dictator or whatever the heck he thinks he is, he needs to make a different choice, because the world is ready to do battle. The country's ready to do battle if he doesn't. But here's the thing, if you're somebody that needs to do this today, if it has nothing to do with, what's happening to a lot of people in this country right now, if this is a more personal situation for you, don't be afraid to ask for what you want. You might get shot down, but that's the other person doing that. That isn't you shooting yourself down. If you can't even ask for what you want, then you've made that decision that something isn't going to work out before it ever has a chance to. We often do that to ourselves. We decide, oh, well, I won't say anything, that no one's really going to care anyway. We talk ourselves into something else. When I see the Knight of Wands, what I see there is somebody who is willing to take a look at things and is willing to deal with problems and deal with things as they come up and do it with integrity. And so whatever you're having to deal with today, assert yourself, in a way that, preserves everyone's dignity. Don't, the negative side of this, of course, is being arrogant. So remember the benevolence and the leadership of the 8 today, and present yourself in a way that is assertive, state what you want, and then step back and let, make your case, and then let whatever happens. Um, as much as you want to be invested in the outcome, you really can't. At this point, all you can do is be invested in what you have to offer, and then let whatever happens happen, and then accept that. But, present new ideas, take a different approach maybe, consider it in a way you never have before you do it. Play it out in your mind before you address whatever it is you need to address. But that would be, I guess, on a personal level, how I would interpret this. But let's look at the runes and see what they have to say. I a couple years ago, I think it was, around New Year's, I was at my oldest son's house, and my children don't live near us anymore. Our kids don't live near us anymore, and so we were there at his house. Was it New Year's or Christmas? Well, I don't know. It was I think it was Christmas, actually. And there had been a storm, and and my son and his wife had taken, they had gotten all the downed limbs and piled them up. And so I was able to get some really nice birch limbs, and and different sizes, so that I could make, maybe larger bind runes, some bigger ones for bind runes. But also I got some branches that, and also I think, did I get some for bigger altar tiles? Or no, that might have been the alder from my youngest son's property. I got some really nice alder, and I was able to make some really big, well, this is not one of them, but bigger than this. This is actually made of juniper. You can tell by the edge there. This is juniper. But anyway, I was able to get some birch. And so the last couple of days, I've been crafting another set of runes out of birch, and they turned out really well, and I'm going to use those today. But I'll pull one out and show you what it looks like. This is Nafis. There we go. When I sprayed the urethane on them, they were a really white wood. After I got done sanding and shaping them and everything the way I wanted them, they ended up being a little bit darker, of course. But they're nice. They're soft. They feel good in my hands. And I borrowed a bag that I did for my black locust runes that I have. They look like this. Here's Nafis again. It's a little bit bigger. You can see there's some shading in the wood. These are really cool. I have a really cool one for Birkenau. It's not exactly round. So anyhow, I dumped those out because I don't have a bag yet made for this particular rune set. And so, but I thought I'd use them today. So let's take a look and see what the birch runes have to say to add to this. Isa. Isa is the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's just a straight line. It's about alignment and about freezing things into place. I need to have a drink of tea. I love the rune Isa. It's the Norn rune of the present moment. It's about, it's interesting, it's a very magical rune. It's said that you can draw it on a child's forehead if they have a fever to try to reduce the fever. But it's basically about, in a sense, it's about ego cohesion with spirit. And what I mean by that is that ego has a tendency to play, and do things that maybe don't make any sense and don't, it seems to put us at odds with ourselves and with others as well. What Isa does, if you chant Isa, it can bring yourself into alignment and bring spirit into focus. Laguz is another one that I use that I chant with, but Isa is one that if I'm really feeling disjointed, if I need to get to a still point very quickly, I'll chant Isa, 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 and I'll come to a very still point very quickly. it's a very comforting sound. So I think that's why it does that. But basically, you can use Isa in bind runes or in magical workings to freeze a situation into place. If a situation is out of control, you could use Thurazaz, to stop that, to bring out of control forces into submission, basically. When you think Thurazaz, you think Thor's hammer, so you can imagine, from the movies, what that might look like as a means of defense. But Isa, when I think Isa, you've got Hagalaz, you've got Nathis, and you've got Isa. Those are the three Norn runes that are contained within the Elder Futhark. Hagalaz is the rune of the past, and the witch rune, Nathis, is the rune of the future. It's the friction within to make something happen. But there you're dealing with past and future. The problem with that is that we need to remain in the present moment. And for that, we need Isa. And so I guess what this would then have to do with whatever it is we need to do if we're trying to present something new to someone that we want, or we're trying to make something else happen if we don't like what's happening right now in our lives, we're trying to make something else happen. The Knight of Wands and the Ace of Swords are basically saying that new thought is there, new ideas are there, new approaches are there, and if people would just use them. The Republicans in the Senate could go to the guy in the Oval Office and say, look, bud, this isn't going to work. And you're jeopardizing all of our careers in the process as you continue down this path. This was never going to work. You have to live in the present moment. You have to live in truth. You have to live in this moment, not the future, not the past. That may be what this is saying, because if you look at the directionality here let's go this way. When you look at the directionality, no, wait a minute, of this guy, okay? It's hard to do it reverse, seeing myself in the screen. I can't do it. Yeah, I'm just not coordinated enough. Anyway, you see, he's actually looking toward the past, okay? So if we're looking at passion that's out of control and impulse control that doesn't exist, okay, no impulse control at all, is looking toward the past. A new idea comes into play, not interested in looking at it. But what this may be saying then, on another way, if we're going to look at this from the standpoint of the guy in the Oval Office, you cannot be in the past. You can't look to whatever campaign promise you made when you were trying to be racist out on the campaign trail. No, you can't do that. Now we have to have a different way forward, a different idea. We have to have it based on reason. And you can see the relationship there with the crown there on the Ace of Swords, So you got to have a different direction. You got to have a different viewpoint. And you cannot keep looking toward the past for that to inform what your present viewpoint is. And so Isa would help him if he would look at it that way and keep him aligned in the present moment so that he could stop long enough and listen and hear what the facts are and see what the effect is of his actions, okay? The Knight of Wands doesn't always understand the effect of his actions when he's ill-dignified and not in his right mind. And so, you need a little bit of reason to maybe get him to pull him back in. But you see, sometimes the fire element, our will, is stronger than our intellect. And that's what we have here. We have an interaction between will and intellect that perhaps the Knight of Swords isn't interested in having. Okay, and that may be what this is. And so Isa comes along and suggests that, well, we all need to focus on the present moment and be informed by that. If you take a look at, someone may not realize, I knew someone one time that was doing something to us, that to my husband and myself, that his wife told me one time, well, sometimes people just get stuck and they keep going and they can't see what they're doing. And I guess that was, her way of apologizing for her husband's misbehavior, without doing it directly. But when it needed to be done directly, and it wasn't. But the point is that he got going, and like the Knight of Wands, when the Knight of Wands is ill-dignified, got going and couldn't see the damage that he was doing to the friendship. Ultimately, though, he did, and he apologized to my husband. But not to me. But the point is, at least he got that far, okay? And reason came into play, and he was able then to self-correct, okay, and choose a different direction and choose a different tactic and just simply drop resistance and say, you know what, I screwed up and I'm sorry. This is on me, all of it. And that's what happened, see? And so you can look at that as a really, no matter what happened to cause all of it, no matter what he did, he got to the point where he realized the consequences of his behavior. And he stopped and he rethought and he said, you know what? I'm not going to continue this. And he did the right thing. I mean, sure for us, but realistically, he did the right thing for himself. You can't go on like that, you know? You can't go off on a lark like that with people. You just can't. Particularly when your behavior affects their lives. And so it's a personal thing. You know, you may be experiencing a challenge between your will and your intellect. Just understand that whatever it is you want, you know, if you approach it in a way that is respectful and just in a way that asserts yourself, you know, and just plainly says, look, you know, this is what I want. This is why I want it. This is why I think I deserve it, or whatever it is, you know, chances are you'll be heard. So I guess I kind of look at this as how we interact and how we communicate. And even within, you know, the idea is to stay in the present moment. It was so interesting because in the shower this morning, I was actually thinking about this, about my mind was wandering, you know, and it's like, well, if I let my mind wander too much, you know, I'm a writer, so I'm often in that mode in my head, you know, so I'm thinking about what I'm going to write about, or I'm thinking about this and that, you know, and thinking about a particular character I'm developing. I'm doing a novel right now, and I'm also doing another book, and I'm actually more focused on the other book than I am on the novel. So consequently, I can't stay present, right? I don't stay present. My mind is everywhere, but where it's supposed to be. So in the shower, I was realizing that, you know, it's like, okay, I got to hurry up. I'm going to lose water. You know, you're going to run out of water eventually, right? You can't stay there forever. I mean, the hot water tank's always so big, right? So I realized that I was doing that I was thinking about, you know, what I was going to be doing today, and I was not mindful of what I was doing. And pretty soon I was just standing there in the shower. And it's like, I realized, I'm like, oh God. So I'm like, okay, present moment awareness, present Isa. And so I was able then to stay present and simply focus and force myself, as every time my mind started to wander back to what I was thinking about, I was like, no, come back, Isa. And I'm trying to stay present so I can get through the shower, right? Because I got to come out and do this. And, you know, because the times, yeah, I got up a little late. So it's like, I don't have a lot of time. I need to come down and sit down at the desk and do this video. So it's so funny, you know, drawing Isa like that. But it's the whole idea of be in the present moment, because in that present moment, you can then look around and see what's happening. You know, if you're doing something that's harmful to others, then knock it off. You know, come to that still point and let the ego, you know, sort of dissolve into spirit, and let spirit inform all of it, and you'll go the right way. You'll do the right thing. So that's also something, you know, that if you're in a difficult situation that's, you know, uncomfortable, say you have to go to a boss and say, you know, I think I deserve this position or something, you know, that would be something that would be impossible for me to do. It's just simply impossible. It's just not something I can do. And but what you would do in that case, if you're someone like me, you would go there, you know, and you would perhaps meditate before, and you would chant Isa, and you would make the ego just dissolve into spirit and allow that to, and then just give it up, you know, just go in, say what you need to say, answer the questions, present what you want, and then just let it go and allow that person to make whatever decision he or she wants to make, and it'll be fine, whatever it is. But you did what you needed to do, and that's really all that matters. And if you have those moments where, you know, you get a little panicky inside, chant Isa. Chant Isa, just Isa, 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 quietly to yourself, not out loud, just Isa. And see if that doesn't help you maybe become a little calmer. Birkenau is another one that you can chant to achieve calm. Birkenau is the mother rune, basically. And so you can chant that to feel calm as well. But Isa is just a wonderful one. It just freezes everything and holds you together when you think you're falling apart. So anyhow, something to think about. So the lunar transits are up on the blog. I did those yesterday. And so I don't know what I'm going to write today. Maybe I'll work on the books or something. Probably the one I want to publish first. But in any event, I guess today's Thursday, so I won't be back until Monday. So have a wonderful weekend and be good to yourself, be good to one another. Thanks so much for coming by. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. And again, we'll see you Monday. Blessed be.